Bangor Cathedral stands on one of Britain's oldest continuous Christian foundations. A monastic community was established here by Saint Deiniol around 530 AD, on land given by the King of Gwynedd. Deiniol is traditionally regarded as the first Bishop of Bangor, and the building is often cited as the earliest cathedral foundations in Britain. This monastery was sacked in 634 and again in 1073. Nothing of the original buildings survives. The present stone building is medieval, but the site has been rebuilt repeatedly. Major phases include an early 12th century Norman rebuilding, with important help and patronage from Gruffudd ap Cynan, King of Gwynedd. Later 13th and 14th century work extended the choir and transepts. Late medieval rebuilding, finished in the early 16th century, and a significant Victorian restoration under Sir George Gilbert Scott from 1868 onward. Scott's plan included a tall central spire that was never completed because of structural settlement and cost. Cathedral memorials include the Welsh king Gruffudd ap Cynan, who was buried by the high altar in 1137, and his son Owain Gwynedd, and later local magnates such as Lord Penrhyn, who contributed to 19th century restoration work, Bishop Skevington, who is behind the building of the tower in 1532, and several bishops of Bangor from the medieval, early modern, and restoration eras are buried within the church. Over the centuries, memorials and tombs have been altered or moved, but the cathedral remains closely associated with Gwyned's ruling dynasty and the diocese bishops. Among the items of interest is the late 15th century carved oak figure known as the Mostyn Christ, an early 15th century font, a range of stained glass, including 19th century work, and several examples of the workshop carvings by Robert Thomson, famous for his carved mice. The cathedral also maintains a biblical garden in its grounds, containing plants mentioned in Scripture. Music has a long pedigree here. References to an organ and choir go back to the medieval period, and the cathedral retains an active choral tradition today. The cathedral retained active use through the Reformation, Civil War, and restorations. The Victorian work by George Gilbert Scott shaped much of the visible medieval Victorian fabric. In recent years, the cathedral has continued to serve both Welsh and English language congregations, hosts civic and musical events, and in 2021 was used as a local NHS COVID-19 vaccination centre for a period, demonstrating its ongoing civic role. For nearly 1,500 years, Bangor Cathedral has been a house of God and a peaceful sanctuary where the long history of prayer and pilgrimage can still be felt.